Okay, so let's get started. Firstly, really warm welcome and thank you each and everyone for joining today evening in this webinar, which is conducted by Edmingle. The topic of the webinar is Future of Training Businesses in 2024. So before we begin, just a quick introduction about myself. I'm Gaurav Doshi. I'm the co-founder and CEO at Edmingle. Overall, I have been into this edtech and skill development industry for more than 13 years now. I've worked with and collaborated with more than 2,500 edtech and skill development companies before Edmingle, as well as during my 7 to 8 years of since we started Edmingle. So in today's webinar, the entire agenda is I wanted to give some really good insights for everyone who wanted to either start their own edtech company or probably running their edtech company or skill development company already. Just wanted to share some quick insights, very overview of insights, which can each of these insights can actually be drilled down into a different webinar altogether, but that's for the later time. Let me quickly introduce Edmingle as well. So at Edmingle, we are building a full stack training management and analytics platform. So we have been into this industry for last 7 years, and we have collaborated with over 5,000 education and training businesses. It's small to medium to large scale. We help them with this platform where we help them streamline their course delivery operations and generate analytics into their edtech and skill development and course delivery operations. We are currently serving more than 2.5 million learners. So when I say we are serving, it's basically our customers who build their platform on Edmingle are serving 2.5 million learners, which are coming from over 130 plus countries. We have been listed under the Forbes list of 200 promising companies with global business potential. And we have already been named as a company of the year by ET Now under EdTech and skill development category. So with this quick introduction, let me set up the tone for tonight. So here's the webinar outline for you. So we are going to cover 5 major points. It's a really good content over there. I would really request all of you to stay towards the end of the webinar because there are a lot of good insights and metrics that I wanted to share. So let's see what we are going to share here. So first point is reality of skill gap in the workforce. So the first part of the webinar, everybody knows, right, that there is a skill gap which is there in the current workforce. Various upskilling requirements are coming up. We are all hearing it here and there, especially in the last 2-3 years after pandemic. This has really increased. But I wanted to show you some metrics which helps you understand the quantum of the skill gap. Second point will identify the areas of opportunity, right? So this webinar is all about what's the future of the training businesses. So I want to give you a few ideas which will help you understand what are the areas of opportunity where your edtech and skill development business can thrive. We'll do a little bit deep dive into the most sought after skill sets till 2030. So of course, the topic says that it's the future of training business 2024, but we all know that the skill shifts which has started to happen are going to continue for a long time. It's not just 1 year. So we'll dive into the most sought after skills till 2030. We'll see what are the most important business strategies to create maximum impact and sustenance. We have been hearing a lot of stories around edtech, especially in India. And so I wanted to lay down some of the business strategies that I have seen working with various customers that we have, which helps them create maximum impact out of their edtech business and build it sustainably. That's the most important part. We'll look into some of the metrics that you should be tracking and the strategies on how to improve these metrics. Finally, I'll do a very quick introduction to Edmingle Analytics, which is a very new addition or sort of like a new product that we're launching into the market. And we'll just cover maybe 5 minutes on introducing that. And of course, we'll do a very deep into Edmingle Analytics and some other webinar overall. And finally, we'll close it up with some Q&A. So overall, I think we'll be together for next 1 hour, 1 hour, 15 minutes, and then followed by a quick Q&A session where I would be open to answer any questions. All right, so without any further ado, let's jump into the first portion. Okay, so topic for today's webinar is future of training businesses in 2024. So the topic is very funny. This was one of the topics which was suggested by our team, and we decided to go for it. But the question over here is, can we really tell the future of training businesses? right? It's a funny topic because we have been hearing uh, a lot of people 3 to 4 years back tried to speak of, future of edtech in India. This is going to be so big. Indian edtech is going to rule the world. But fast forward today, there are some stories. I'm not going to take any names or pinpoint any companies who had really, really promising future, but ultimately today has a very, very sorry state of operations. So nobody can. The point I'm trying to make here is nobody can actually tell the future. My purpose of this webinar is to give you some of the insights and strategy which can help you future proof your training business, right? Because in my opinion, edtech businesses have to really, really strive hard in today's world to build a sustainable and profitable business, right? And there are some very basic fundamentals that everybody should keep in mind if they really want to build a sustainable business around education as well as skill development. Okay, so the first thing that I want to discuss today is the looming skill gap. We have all been hearing a lot of things in the market that, because of the new technological advancement, the new business model innovations that is happening, corporations across the globe are facing huge skill gap. But what exactly the skill gap looks like? So let's dive into a few numbers. As per our research, overall $380 billion is the amount of money that is spent today into learning and development. This is the global number which I'm talking about. Just to give you some perspective, it's close to 31.5 lakh crores in Indian rupees. It's such a large quantum of money. This basically is the total learning and development market and spends overall globally. Still, the facts say that 87% of the global CEOs report skill gap in their employees. It's a big number. Even after spending so much, 87% still feel that there's a skill gap in their employees. As per a survey by McKinsey as well as Udemy, 92% of Indian employees feel that they need to upskill to stay relevant. And now we are talking about Indian employees themselves who work into various corporations. 92% of them feel that they need to upskill and to stay relevant. This brings us to the big question, right? Why is there such a huge gap even after so much of spending is happening? Millions and millions of dollars, crores and crores of rupees is being allocated as budget into learning and development by various companies, but still it's very, very alarming to see that there is such a huge gap in upskilling which is there. Maybe we are not solving the problem in the right way. So before we move on, I just wanted to have, because I want to keep this a very engaging sort of webinar, I want to ask a few questions. I'm just going to launch a poll over here. Let me just quickly launch. So I've just launched a poll in front of you. The question is, why is there such a huge gap even after so much of spending? I want to understand what you guys feel about it, right? So there are three options. Is it because of lack of quality of content? Is it because of lack of quality of trainers? Or is it because of the lack of linking between the training and industry? So I can see that the polls have started to come in. I want you guys to take a few seconds and mark your poll before we move forward. All right. I think the linking between training and industry application seems to be leading at this point of time. Okay. There are a lot of you who feels that there's a lack of quality of trainers. Okay. All right. Okay. Just a few more seconds before we punch in all the polls. All right. Very less number of people, almost no people, none of you feel that there's a lack of quality of content over here. I'm of course going to share the results of the poll very quickly. That's very interesting. All right, I think let's end the poll over here. It was a quick poll, and I'm just going to share the results of the poll with you right away. So 83% of you feel that the lack of linking between the training and industry application is the biggest reason why there is such a huge gap even after so much of spending. 17% of you feel that there's a lack of quality trainers. And it's very surprising to see that none of you feel that there's a lack of quality content. All right, it's a very interesting, thing to see. Anyway, so let's dive into this, right? You feel lack of linking between training and industry application is the biggest reason. Let's see what we have found through our survey. So the question, why is there such a huge gap even after so much of spending? According to our surveys and after speaking to a lot of people, what we have figured out and what we can conclude is training isn't one size fits all. right? So as you also mentioned that because there is a linking gap between what has been trained and how it has been applied into the industry, the next big question is why exactly that happens is because we have been seeing that over the past few years, there are some very large edtech companies who have tried to come in and tried to capture the market everywhere. They wanted to actually, start training with one particular niche and then quickly expand it into various other niche, even, which were not even their expertise. And they tried to use this model where they thought that a company can come, build every content out there, reach every student out there, work with every corporation out there. And the big problem is a lot of corporations have also fallen for it, right? They want to work with big brands today, right? But when they work with big brand, they do not really, they just see the brand name. They are not able to really assess the quality of the content, assess the quality of the trainer. And the companies often forget to ask a very basic question, that how this training is going to help my employee or person actually upskill. Or let's say in case of the B2C, when the student attempt this, they also look for very large brands today, right? Without even thinking whether that brand is actually the right place for them to upskill themselves in the required skill set that they're looking for in the market. We believe that training isn't one size fits all, and I'm sure that you all would agree with me here. Knowledge is a very subjective matter. Interestingly, it is not just a subjective from the perspective of learners, but also companies alike. Today, we all know that learners actually, let's say, if I want to upskill myself in the sales or presentation skills, I cannot go to Udemy and try to upskill myself to a very much extent, right? I can, of course, get some basic understanding around sales training and communication training when I go to a marketplace like Udemy. But if I want to go deep and have detailed understanding, I'm, of course, going to search for an expert out there. Same goes for the company of corporations, right? So let's say if Edmingle is a company and we want to train our employees into sales, right? I'm just not going to go to a company who just do a simple sales training, because for every company, sales knowledge is subjective, or any other knowledge or technology knowledge is subjective. It has to be merged with what the company is doing, what their product is all about. The general skills, the basic skills, and the higher order skills needs to be mixed and merged. And in our opinion, no one company can cover up all these things which is there. And very interestingly, I came across a quote from Mr. Jeff, who is the CEO of Coursera. He says that, very interestingly, in India, the value chain is pretty big. I think a lot of Indian businesses, companies try to do it all by themselves, right? Just because the capital was available, that doesn't mean that that's a good business strategy. And very interestingly, he kept on saying, everything, everywhere, all at once, edtechs don't work. And edtech companies can thrive in niches. Now, this is a really big validation coming from Mr. Jeff, who is the CEO of Coursera. He has seen the market and he says that the companies, edtech companies, can thrive in niches. And exactly same thing is what we have been promoting over the last 7 to 8 years, that education and training might be the only, or maybe only few of the industries where a big company cannot get it all. There can be a lot of edtech and skill development companies which are small to medium to semi-large scale, can coexist into this market, build sustainable and profitable business around a very, very niche training or expertise that they're trying to build. And this, my dear friends, is a very, very huge opportunity that lies for each of us as an edtech company to train in niche areas. But there are three most important factors that we have seen over time. After analyzing more than 2,500 plus companies, some of them really scaled fast, some of them really hit the ground really fast, right? And we analyzed what went wrong, right? What were the most important pillars in which they took care of if they were successful? And there were three outcomes, or three pillars, I would say. One is they really focused on the expertise and specialization rather than trying to scale really fast into various niches. They picked one niche and they created expertise and specialization, or they picked a niche where they already had expertise and specialization. They started as a one person team and scaled their business as you grow. And some of them are still training in a niche and expertise or specialization area even after 10 to 15 years of their existence, right? While we are seeing that today's edtech company are raising a lot of funds and trying to enter every field possible into 2 to 3 years of existence, which I think is absolutely not a good idea. And later on, when we cover the business strategies of a good sustainable edtech business, we'll get to understand more why it's not a good idea to expand your training across niches very, very fast. The second thing that we have identified is the quality of training really matters, right? Because let's go back to a time before pandemic, right? Let's say if I'm talking about 2016, 2017, or 2018 year, large companies had learning and development budgets. In fact, in large companies, the L&D budgets were the first budgets to be cut if you have to save cost, right? The point I'm trying to make is none of them really focused on quality of the training. A lot of companies just wanted to have budgets around L&D because their board actually asked them to do training across all the employees, right? They did not worry about quality, and they ended up working with a lot of company without worrying about what's the quality and what's the outcome. And that brings me to the third pillar. You need to have demonstrable outcomes in today's world as the third important pillar if you want to build a sustainable company. Bringing back the point again, today the situation is, fast forward to 2023 or 24, companies are getting really serious about the L&D budgets and where they are spending. And the questions they're asking is, what type of demonstrable outcomes are you able to provide if I'm going to partner with you to train my employees and so on? The reason is because now it's about the existential crisis, right? For companies, previously it was just a budget to be spent, but today it's important. It's an existential crisis for them. If they really don't upskill their employees in the right way, their companies are bound to suffer huge losses, or they're going to bound to lose their battle with the new technologies which are coming up and the new companies that are coming up who are already experts into the new technology applications. So these are the three important pillars. You need to have expertise and specialization around the skill development or the edtech company you're building. You need to focus on quality really good. And when I say quality, it's about the quality of content, the quality of course delivery, the quality of your trainers as well. And finally, even if you have expertise and quality, if you're not able to show demonstrable outcomes, I don't think edtech business is very difficult to be built today. You need to have demonstrable outcomes. Moving on. So where is the opportunity? Let's come to the point here. Where is the opportunity for the new or the existing edtech company? So now I want to deep dive into some of the most sought after skill set that the industry is looking today. And we have done done study of several reports over here, also talked to a lot of customers. And I'm going to walk you through some of the skill sets that are most sought after when we move into till the year 2030. So before we jump into that, one question, which is most important here, what's causing the biggest skill shift, right? We are seeing that there's a rapid skill shifts which is happening overnight and in very quick few months. The skill requirement around the employees is changing rapidly. So what's causing it, right? So there are 2 points over here. One is the automation that is happening, and the second is the inception of the artificial intelligence which is coming into day-to-day application. And when I say automations and AI, I'm not pointing out only towards the technological industry. You take any industry, whether it's BFSI, whether it's manufacturing, whether it's retail, whether it's healthcare, any industry you take, automation and AI are entering, and those are the biggest drivers of accelerated skill shifts that is there. Coming to the next one, before again we see what type of skill sets are growing, what type of skill sets are actually coming down, the requirements, let's try to categorize the skills over there, right? Now, again, this is all industry agnostic, whether you are in BFSI or pharma, healthcare, or retail, manufacturing, anything. You can categorize the skills required into these industry into the following. The first is the physical and the manual skills. Examples I've also mentioned on the right side, like general equipment operations, navigations, inspecting and monitoring, mostly available in the manufacturing industry. Second is the basic cognitive. Now, a lot of skills like basic data entry, processing, basic literacy, numeracy, content writing, basically, is the basic cognitive skills which is there. Third is the higher cognitive. These are the skill sets which require a little bit higher cognitive, like abilities like creativity and problem solving, complex information processing, data interpretation, analysis of data which is in front of you. The fourth one is social and emotional, which is like entrepreneurship, initiative tracking, taking, leadership and management courses which are out there. And finally, you can have technological skill category, which is like advanced IT skills and programming, basic digital skills. Now, technology can have most of the advanced IT skills, programming skills, or even the basic digital skills as well. So now we have categorized the skill sets which is required by various industries out there. And you take any skill, I think you can categorize them into one of these five major categories. So as per the report analysis that we did by one of the detailed report by McKinsey, this is what we actually found, and it's very, very interesting. So on the graph which you see at the bottom x-axis, I've listed the type of the skill category, that is the physical or manual, basic cognitive, high cognitive, social, emotional, technological. And on the left side in the y-axis is the number of hours the entire workforce approximately spent into these particular category. So the first observation over here is, the blue line, the light blue line, which you are seeing over here is the data from 2016, and the orange or the yellowish bar that you see is what is expected in moving forward to 2030. So one can see that physical and manual is a skill set is basically going to decline. The requirements is going to decline. Basic cognitive skill requirements are going to decline further. Higher cognitive, social, emotional, and technological skill requirements by the companies is rising really fast. And out of all this as well, technology is the category of skills where the requirements and the skill shifts are happening in the fastest way. As you can see, the number of hours overall which is going to be spent across the globe on technological skills is going to grow up by almost 55%. Still, technology will remain overall in terms of the skill set requirement, it will remain lower, but the change in skill shift is going to happen mostly in technology. Second is the social and emotional. It's almost going to grow up by 24% between 2016 and 2030, and the shift is still going on. And when I say social and emotional, because all these new technologies are coming in, business innovations are coming in, employees also need to have an understanding of how to do management, how to do entrepreneurship, how to have basic human skills, which is required. That's all categorized under social and emotional skills. Higher cognitive will see a rise of around 8%. Now, higher cognitive is, see, let's say if you consider basic cognitive, which is going to reduce by almost 15%, these are the jobs where you had to do basic data entries. And if you see large companies who are laying off today are mostly laying off around the skill sets, which are either basic cognitive skills, right? Or even if they are trying to upskill their employees, they are trying to shift these people from basic cognitive skills to higher cognitive skills. Let me give you a very simple example, right? So let's say if you are into content development, right, or content writing. So previously, let's say if a company wanted to churn a lot of content, you might have like 3, 4, 5, junior content developers who are writing, who are researching and doing all those things, and maybe one manager who is reviewing the work of 4 to 5 content developers. But with the artificial intelligence coming into the picture, maybe even if you just have a basic writing skills, that might not be something which is sufficient. Maybe without AI, even a single manager can simply generate tons and tons of content and do a review and keep publishing the content around it. So content is just one of the example where I'm talking about the basic cognitive. There are other examples like basic data entries, which is now which can be completely automated with the help of softwares and automations and artificial intelligence out there. So this is what the skills shifts looking forward. So this is an important data because a lot of you, if you're planning to start an edtech company or if you already have an edtech company, these are some of the areas where you might want to tap the target into, because these are the areas where the scale or the sustainability is going to come the fastest over here. And each of this is very, very huge, right? You can pick, let's say if I talk about technology itself or social emotional itself, you can pick a particular niche, whether it's leadership training, mentorship training, entrepreneurship training. You can pick a particular niche and really, really create expertise out of it, launch your courses, mini courses, large courses around it, and try to reach out to directly to learners or maybe companies who are specifically looking for these type of skill sets, which is there. Moving on, even in these categories, here are some of the fastest growing skill set requirements which I've seen over the time. The fastest growing skill set is advanced technology skills, which includes your AI programming, high level programming, and all those things, followed by basic digital skills. Now, when I say basic digital skills, these are the skill set which is required by how to use your Excel sheet to generate reports, to generate the graphics, all those sort of trainings, which again belong to technology. The third one after technology is the entrepreneurship and initiative taking. Now, entrepreneurship, as we all know, the startup culture is really, really thriving in India. A lot of individual people right out of college are trying to build their own companies across various things. They need to have a training of entrepreneurship and initiative taking. So I'll take an example of myself itself, right? If somebody had given me a proper entrepreneurship training, initiative training right into the college, I think I would have not, I would definitely go out and spend for such training rather than trying to learn everything on my own, because startup culture is there. Everybody wants to have their own entrepreneurship and business. The next one is the leadership and managing others. So again, it's needless to say that with all these new technological advances, entrepreneurship coming in, you need people in the company who is able to better manage the emotional and the social aspects of all your learners. After that comes the advanced communication. Now, when I say advanced communications, this is not just basic language training, but how to communicate in a particular language in a way that resonates with others, right? As a manager or as an employee, you need to have advanced communication skills. If you need to convince your customers, if you need to, if you are in customer success, if you are managing a lot of employees, if you are managing multiple stakeholders, right from the the management team to any level of employee within the company. And this is again very important to build a good culture in the company. You need to have advanced communication skills out there as well. And finally comes the creativity, design thinking, decision making, and complex information processing. Now, again, this is one of the very, very big problem which is not being solved properly into the edtech and skill development market still. If you take a company, let's say if I want to initiate a new project today, right? I want to have a product manager and I want to be able to rely on them to execute that project in the fastest and the most efficient way. Now, if they have to do it, they need to have really, really deep critical thinking skills, design thinking skills. They need to be able to navigate your organization structure really quick, make fast decisions, process information quickly to be presented to the management team. You need people like that, and those people out there are very rare to find. But not if you are able to create a proper step-by-step training programs around there. This is something which I believe can be trained to people and has huge advantage if they are going to apply for a job, or even if they need a promotion in their existing company. Okay, another interesting survey. So here what I wanted to show you is a survey that shows the functions that are already most automated, right? So the right side graph I'll try to explain to you. uh, there are a lot of companies who have already started to adopt a lot of automation in AI, right? So where exactly skill gap and skill mismatch is happening in which category is the highest? So as you can see on the right side, data analytics is something where companies are seeing the biggest mismatch already, right, in 2024, followed by IT, mobile, web design. And all of these category, even if you consider data analytics, there are a bunch of subcategories where the trainings is required, which can be curated specifically for the companies who are looking for it. And that gives a big opportunity, right? So let's say there are a lot of companies who need data analytics, but even in data analytics, they need training into very, very specific things. So as an edtech and skill development companies, it's an opportunity to work with those companies, create specific content for them, and help them upskill their employees, or even do a direct business to consumer sort of courses around it. IT, mobile, and web design is followed. Next is the R&D, then the product and service, sales and marketing. And the other administration task is something which is seeing the minimal skill gap at this point of time. And that's, I think, very obvious because it's still going to take time, because there's this mostly is a basic cognitive skill requirement, which is there required for this particular job. So this graph also gives you some idea. You can pick a particular category, you can pick a particular expertise, and within that expertise, you can pick a particular subcategory to create your courses and go to the market out there. Okay, so this brings us to the next part of the webinar. Here, I wanted to propose some of the strategies to build a sustainable edtech business, right? So I am not going to go deep into a lot of business strategies which are commonly out there. I'm just going to cover a few most important strategies which are often looked as not so important by a lot of companies, a lot of venture capitalists out there as well. But things are changing really rapidly. We have been seeing data and metrics which support this. strategy which I'm to promote. But before we jump into that, it's time for a quick another poll. I'm going to raise a quick poll over here. Just 1 second. Yeah. All right. So the question is, what factor, according to you, plays the most important role in building a successful training business? Is it content? Is it marketing? Is it technology? So if you're the question meaning is, of course, I understood, which I hope you understood it. But just to put in some context over here, if you are trying to build a successful training business, I want to get a sense from you guys that what is the most important factor according to you? All right. Okay. Thanks a lot for putting in your queries, putting in your answers in the poll here. I'm just going to end the poll because it was a very quick poll. All right. And I'm going to share the results over here. Around 53% of you feel that content plays the most important role. I'm glad to see that only 20% of you feel that marketing is the most important role, because in our experience, we have seen that marketing might not be the most important factor in helping you build a successful business. Technology, 27% of you feel that technology plays the most important role in building a successful training business. All right, thanks a lot, guys, for this insight. This is going to help me, put across my points in a better way as we move forward. Okay, so before we actually go into the proposed strategy, I wanted to bring in this equation once again in front of you. The three pillars that we were seeing. First is expertise and specialization, the quality, and demonstrable outcome. Out of these three, the demonstrable outcome is the most important pillar, as I was talking about. If there is, I can simply say in today's world that if there is no demonstrable outcome proof, there is no edtech business. The edtech business who is not able to show an outcome proof is bound to go down. Is something which is harsh, but it's really, really true. So all the strategy which I'm going to show you in the next following slide is going to focus, are designed in a way which allows you to create maximum outcome proof or maximum impact into your business. So again, so before we actually start seeing the strategies in itself, we wanted to draw a bottom line over here. So on the right side, there are few list items which we call the bottom line of good strategies for edtech. Whatever strategies you're going to make, you need to ensure that following 6 things are taken care of. First thing is you need the strategy should help you well define your market segment. And this is where I talk about niche, right? You need to be able to define a market in a very, very well defined way, right? Second is you need to have a high quality content that keeps refreshing with industry. I think this is something which is very, very important. High quality content is needed, and a lot of you actually put across that content is the most important part. I agree with it, but the important thing is you need to keep refreshing it with the industry, because industry is moving really, really fast. What was relevant 1 year before might not be even relevant today. So you need to be able to keep refreshing your content with industry. Third is you need to keep your cost of customer acquisition low. You need to have repeatability in business. You need to have high credibility. And finally, out of all, you need to be able to maximize training outcomes. So all the strategies that we thought of are designed keeping these simple 6 points in mind. And that is why I'm going to keep this pinned on the right side of your screen as we walk through the strategies here. Moving on, the first strategy is something which we have been discussing so far. You need to focus on niche. And here are some of the examples which I'm going to show you and explain why focusing on niche really works. Firstly, it helps you start. Always you should start with the area of your highest expertise, right? Because if you start with an area where you have highest expertise, you are able to define your market segment really well. If you're able to define your market segment really well, you can position yourself in the market in a very, very perfect way, which is again very important if you don't want to confuse your end consumers, whether it's student or corporations, right? There is nothing to worry about if that niche that you choose is not a very, very large market. One of the myths out there in the market is if you're doing a new company, if you're starting a new company or a startup, your market size has to be very large, right? So now, but everybody has started to realize that when it comes to India or anywhere else, right, the market is very, very deep, especially the market of training and education is very, very deep. If even if you take a niche market and create expertise and courses around it, there's a very high chance that you can start generating more and more revenue. And one thing which I wanted to make clear over here is that when I say building a sustainable business, all these strategies obviously are not going to help you become the likes of upgrads or multi-billion dollar companies. My goal is at Edmingle, what we believe is we want to help small to medium sized businesses build a sustainable business which keeps on growing year over year and acts like a strong business for the founders and the organization that are starting it. So focusing on niche. Second point is it allows you to become the face of the business. Now, time and time again, it has been proved that your edtech business can become successful if you are putting your face on it. Because education and training, learners connect with trainer himself to start with, and not with and brand later, right? You come to brand building later. People first come to you because they know that you are the market expert into this particular thing. So focusing on niche actually allows you to become the face of the business as well. And finally, focusing on niche helps you build credibility faster, right? Now, here are some of the examples. If you have heard about company like Growth School, right? The founder, Vaibhav Sisanti, he actually put himself out there. He became the face of the business. He started with one particular niche, which was how to promote your business on LinkedIn and really, really gain popularity into it. And today also, as he's trying to scale, he's still trying to be in his niche where he's targeting a lot of people around marketing and the product part of it. So that is there. Second is Byju's, right? So Byju's, I'm not talking about what Byju's has become today. What Byju's has become today is the result of, they stopped focusing on their niche. But I'm remembering back in the day in 2014 when I was studying in VIT University, Byju's himself was a big name, not the brand. Byju's himself was a big name. A bunch of people attended, huge webinars, maybe up to thousands of people attended his classes, right? He was really the expert. He was putting his face out there. His credibility built faster. But only later, when he started to expand his edtech business really fast, going into different niches where his face was not the face of the expert, the things started to fall down. So the first point is it's very, very important to focus on niche. Stoa is another interesting example that we have been following. Stoa built its expertise around the niche where they basically say that they are the MBA of today that is required, right? They are openly challenging the IIMs and MBA institutes of today, and they are saying that, hey, these institutions, the curriculum that they're training is very, very broad. It's not what is required in today's world, right? And they are creating MBA equivalent programs, which is completely job oriented focused, but again, very, very niche around the business strategy programs out there. So my first strategy which I wanted to pinpoint was focus on the niche. And this is the most important part. Do not leave your niche. Maybe even if you are fast, whether you hit 2 crores, 5 crores, 7 crores, $1 million, even up to $4 to $5 million revenues, if you're doing, you should not leave your niche, which is there, because things can really go down really fast if you leave your niche, which is there. The second strategy, which we have seen is really working, is start with a B2B, right? Now, if you're starting, and there's a very good rationale behind it. And a lot of companies who are today very big, like Upgrad, actually, found this strategy really useful for them. The idea over here is, of course, when you work with businesses, you are able to build industry relevant content, right? So let's say if you're going to a business and asking, what type of content do you need? What type of expertise or skilling that you want to have for your employees, right? They're going to give you some ideas around it. You create specific content for that business. If you do that content in some way or format, later on, you can also push to consumers, maybe starting your B2C part of it. Now, when you push it to consumers, you have a very strong point over there that you work with a lot of businesses who are looking for such industry relevant content. And that's what we are directly pushing to you. And that is going to give you much more credibility when you go to B2C market as well. And finally, when you actually when you work directly with B2C later on, you are able to supply these candidates to the businesses that you work with, saying to the business, hey, that you mentioned to me that these are the skill set that you required in today's this thing. We already trained your employees, but here are few new people who you might want to hire directly from us because they're already trained in something that you're looking for today. And companies love that, right? Because see, as a company today, you only have two options. Either you're going to retrain or reskill your existing employees, right? And or you're going to lay off your existing employees if of course the business is suffering, and hire new people who are into the skill set, who already possess the skill set which is out there. Trust me, for a company, it is always, sometimes it's cheaper to retrain their existing employees than to hire new people. So this loop is something which becomes very important. Another very, very obvious points why you should start with business to business is it helps you create maximum output. Why? Because let's say if you work with company, you're going to get, let's say, 100, 200, 300 people right at once. It helps you get more money upfront. It helps you, build better credibility faster. And your cost of acquisition of customer ultimately is low, because if you go to B2C, you're going to keep spending in marketing dollars and still not get the results that you're looking for. So second strategy for you to think about, do not try to go to B2C. Do not try to build your brand right away, because that is going to require huge funding, which is there. And you're going to be named as just another edtech company out there who's trying to teach something which 100 companies are already teaching. If you go to B2C, that's going to happen today. But if you start with B2B, you can choose a set of companies that can connect with your expertise, and you can start building your revenue. And maybe a time can come when you try to launch a B2C and complete this value chain, which I'm showing over here in this slide. Next is high ARPU, less scale is the third most important business strategy that I've seen working for edtech companies who are still sustaining and growing today. Now, what is ARPU? ARPU is average revenue per learner or per user or per customer, like whoever your customer is, the end customer. The idea over here is that, let's say if you build a very, very niche expertise course, which you are able to charge 1 lakh rupees for one course. Even if you sell it to 1,000, right? One way is you charge your 1 lakh rupees per course and you only reach out to 1,000 people, either through B2C or, even better, B2B. Let's say you started working with 3 to 5 companies and you started to get 1,000 rupees over here, or directly sold in an expertise course. Versus you launch small courses like 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 courses and try to reach out to 20,000. Even though the math multiplying both of these numbers results in the same amount, that is 10 crores of revenue a year, but the first strategy works much better. And I think the reasons are very, very obvious, because reaching to 20,000, it's a general myth, especially in India. Everybody, if you ask any training businesses that what you want to achieve with this edtech business, the first thing is the Indian market is very large. Indian market is a mass market. I'm going to charge my course really, really less, and I'm going to reach out to thousands and thousands of people out there. That sounds good, but ultimately that is not the truth, because often people forget all the reasons, which becomes very difficult for them. Firstly, reaching out to large masses in India is not easy. You need to pay tons and tons of money to Facebook, Google, and your cost of customer acquisition is going to go high. Ultimately, even if you get one student, you will not be able to recover your 5,000 rupees even if it's such a low cost. So that is where, edtech businesses started to bleed money. It's not profitable. The right side approach, where the ARPU is less, the scale is high, is not profitable, and it's very difficult to make it profitable in any time near future. Whereas if you take the left part, you can build a profitable business. For every student that you get, you are able to create more brand loyalty out there, better credibility out there, and generate more and more, profits out of here. Just right. So this was the next strategy which I was talking about. And of course, needless to say, if you're working with less people, you're able to show better training outcomes, right? Because 20,000 people, a lot of people might want something from you. A lot of people might something different from you. It's very difficult, especially in the learning, because it's very subjective in nature, to keep all the students very happy, all the learners very happy. So it helps to work with less number of learners, but keep your course rates really, really high, and go to the market, be an expert, and say that why your course is basically so higher. A very good example here I wanted to give before we move on. If you heard about a company called Zerodha, I'm sure that all of you have heard that they are doing, more than $500 million in profits today. Their ideology is very simple. They are only targeting top 1% of the market in India. People who are now willing to, come into the trading market as well. Versus you take another company, something called PhonePe. So PhonePe is trying to do the mass market thing, where the profitability is very difficult, and they are facing huge pressures from their, their investors, and still they are not able to make even a part of the revenue or the profit that Zerodha is doing. So focus on quality, focus on education, such that you can educate more and more people to enter that top tier where they are willing to pay you high for your courses because they see value into your courses. So that is often, something which has worked in the past. Next is, do not think of scale in the early business stages, right? Again, this is very similar to the business strategy, but here one very special example I wanted to take. I'm not sure, how many of you have heard about the company called Emeritus, right? I'm just going to pause over here, and I'll just ask, how many of you actually know what Emeritus is today? If you can use chat or something like that, it will help me understand whether you heard about this brand, which is very, very large brand in edtech industry, coming out from India and for the global market. Okay. Thank you, Durga. Yes. So, what I have seen is not a lot of people, only a few of you actually replied that Emeritus, right? Emeritus is a company today who is doing more than 400 to 500 million dollars in revenue. It is a 16-year-old company, but interestingly, I was attending one of their events in Gurgaon, earlier this month, which was ASU GSV Summit, which was, promoted by Emeritus themselves. What they mentioned really struck me, which led me into this particular strategy that is good. For the first 6 to 7 years, they did not even scale. They focused on B2B. They only worked with select university. So ideally, they help universities create good quality content and take their courses to global market around various upskilling this thing. They work with top universities today in US like Stanford, Wharton, Harvard, and who's who of it. So initially, they were only work for the first 6 to 7 years. They were only working with a few top universities and doing a business which was not scaling at all, but was profitable. But after 6 years, they started to scale really rapidly. After 6 to 7 years, were they able to raise some small fund and started putting their courses directly for learners online, and they scaled really fast. But if you look at any other company who try to scale really fast early, you all know the results which has happened today. So this is the strategy, I think, which helps. Do not think of scale. This again goes against the thought process of how the venture capitalists think today, and various other business owners are thinking today. Interestingly, if you keep your scale low, all the right side important bottom line strategy also, really, really works better. Finally, you should focus. The next important strategy is you should focus on what works and then disrupt, right? Now, this is interesting. And we talk to a lot of edtech companies out there, right, who are looking for Edmingle as the product for their companies, right? I often hear them say that they often come up with an idea which is so innovative that it's just an idea in itself. There is no implementation or proof of concept out there. The general thought process around edtech companies today is, because of all the things which is going around edtech, if you do not create differentiation from day one, nobody's going to buy your course or nobody's going to work with it. But I think it's a complete myth, because the problem is, if you try to find disruption, if you try to find complete innovation from day one, it results in delay to your go-to market time. And go-to market time is something which has become very, very important today. Consider a scenario where with whatever you have, you're able to go live in 1 month or 2 months, versus consider a scenario where you're trying to create something very unique, but it's going to take you more than a year or 2 years to even give your product out there in the market for the first evaluation. And with the today's fast moving time, if you have your go to market time really delayed, it's not going to work. And often I've seen that go to market times delay when you start thinking about a lot of requirements around your edtech business, which does not even make sense, right? So our strategies, the strategy which I'm going to promote is, the basic things that work always should be the point which should help you get quickly started. Because the time you start getting the feedback from the market is what is going to define what is unique about you, and not your innovation on day zero. If you are going to come up with an innovation and launch that, you do not even know whether the market is ready for that innovation or not. You have not even collected any feedback from the market out there. And you spend so much time, energy, money into building that innovation, and ultimately find out that nobody is looking for that innovation in the first place. People are still looking for the basic thing. So the idea is whatever you have in the basic way of format, go to market really fast, start collecting market feedback. I promise you that the market, the customers, your customers are going to create the uniqueness. And then you can take that uniqueness, keep on slowly innovating on it. And this cycle actually takes long time, right? I would say at least 8 to 10 years is what is needed if you want to really innovate in your particular space in a way which is actually solving the problem for your end consumer. So focus on what works first and then disrupt. If you are thinking about disruption from day one, it's a very nice word to hear about. Disrupt. A lot of venture capitalists is using these words. But if you want to focus on what works, if you focus on what works, I think you will have a cycle or engine which is getting started, which can be, looped back with the market feedback. Again, then you can innovate on top of it and then take your business to the next level. So finally, these are the 6 business strategies, very, very, top level strategies, which we have seen working out for edtech and skill development companies who are working with Edmingle, or even other companies that we keep speaking in our sales calls and all those things. They are focusing on niche. They are starting with B2B. There are a few examples that we have who focused on B2B, really scaled fast. High ARPU, less scale. Do not think of scale in the early business stages and focus on what works and then disrupt. Ultimately, all these things, as you know, is going to help you create maximum training outcome. And if you remember, if there is no training outcome, if there is no demonstrable training outcome, there is no edtech business. That's the reality of today's edtech, and skill development companies. So these simple strategies for you to get started anywhere you are into your business journey, even if you're just starting out, even if you're into 2 to 3 or even 5 years into your journey, focusing on these things might not help you build your brand really fast, but is going to help you create a sustainable business. And then there will come a time where you will know exactly what the problems of your learners are and use that as your leverage to take the next scaling leap, which is there. All right. So this brings us to, almost the last or the second last part of our webinar. What metrics to track? I often get asked that, as an edtech company, as a training business, what should be the metrics that I should be tracking on a daily basis, on a monthly basis, on a weekly basis? And what are some of the strategies to improve these particular metric? Now it's time for another quick poll where I want to understand from you that, let me just launch the poll here. This is the final poll. Yeah. So I just launched the poll. The question is, what, according to you, is the most important KPI metric to track in a training business, right? There are some 6 to 7 options. Do you think that average time spent by the learners on your courses is the most important metric? Do you think that the ratings that your courses are receiving is the most important metric? Is it sales that you should focus on as a key important metric? Is it the repeat course sales? Now, what I mean by repeat course sales is when if you have a learner, are they coming back to you and purchasing more and more courses with you? Is that the metric which you think is the most important in training business? Learner satisfaction, is it something which is most important? Or if you have some other metric that you keep tracking, if you're not seeing over here, none of them, you can mark none of them above. If you have something else in mind, you can use chat as well to post that. Because there were only limited options that we put over here. This poll is going to really help me understand how I should structure my webinar going forward. And I would love to understand from you that what is that most important KPI or metric that you're tracking at this point of time, or that you are willing to track. All right. Thanks a lot for punching into the poll. And some of you have, okay. I'm going to end the poll and share the results with you. Right. So here are the results. I'm really, really glad to see that most of you feel that learner satisfaction is by far the most important, metric that you would want to track for the success of the business. And I'm really happy to see again that new course sales is not the key metric that you're looking for today, because there's a very, very, very interesting thing which happens, right? Which I'm going to share next. Thanks a lot for, punching in the poll. I'm just going to stop sharing it and close it down. Right. Some of you also put across in the chat, Himanshu says that learning outcome achieved is something which is most important metric to track again. But it's very tough to track the learning outcome, Himanshu, right? You cannot quantify. Is there a way in which you can quantify? It's an interesting thing to think about. But thanks a lot for putting across, this. All right. So let's move on. Again, before going on into the most important metric to track, I would bring back these three important pillars. These three important pillars keep coming because these are the most important thing, the three most important pillars which is there. As of now, we are saying that expertise and specialization plus quality plus demonstrable outcomes. Now it's time to define the right hand side of this particular equation, right? What does it all equals to? All of these equals to the learner satisfaction. And I by far agree that learner satisfaction, measuring learner satisfaction is the most important metric. And at Edmingle, we call this particular metric the sustainability equation. Because in today's world, if you are trying to build a sustainable edtech and profitable edtech business, you need to focus on learner satisfaction. There are various reasons out of it. EdTech business, the best marketing for an EdTech business is the word of mouth. If I'm a student, I'm happy with what I'm seeing. I'm going to promote you within my network, and that's going to obviously help you build better, better credibility. Your cost of customer acquisition will be low. If I'm a satisfied learner, I'm going to keep buying from you. Today, let's say if you're training around marketing, right? Maybe I purchase, or maybe finance. Maybe I just purchase a simple course where I want an understanding on how to analyze or how to read the financial statements. If I'm going to love the content, if I'm going to be satisfied with the way of training delivery that is happening, if I'm satisfied with the entire experience you are providing, I will purchase how to do deep detailed analysis of financial statements from you. Maybe even I will even purchase how to do better valuations around the company from you. So if you focus on learner satisfaction, that's going to help you create more and more repeatable business. It will help you keep your cost of customer acquisition low. It will ultimately, and who knows, if your learner satisfaction is really good, and if you are the face of the company, your growth can be viral. This is exactly what happened and what is happening with Physics Wala today, right? Alak Pandey became the face of the company, and the learners were really satisfied with the way they are training. And everybody knows today that they are able to scale their edtech business while becoming profitable. What's going to happen next after they raise $100 million from GSV is something puts a big question mark, but that is yet to see. But up till now, I think they have been doing wonderfully well. Only one reason: they have a cult of learners following who keep buying from them, who are very, very learner satisfied over it. But now the big question comes, right? How do you measure learner satisfaction, right? Because and that is where actually I asked a lot of the polls from your side, right? Some people feel that if the engagement around your courses is very high, let's say if the students are spending a lot of time on your courses, are doing your courses, your learner satisfaction is right. But we all know that just because student is taking the course that you have given, his satisfaction rate is high is not true. There might be multiple reasons. What if the company has made it mandatory for all of them to really complete your course to the 100%? Only then they might get incentive or they might get a promotion out there, right? So they are going to just watch your content, spend time, engage with your courses, but not really be satisfied with what you are giving. Even if you track a simple metric like assessment scores or the course ratings, all of those individually cannot help you understand what the learner satisfaction is. So that's where at Edmingle, what we do is we suggest companies to quantify this learner satisfaction. And how do you quantify this learner satisfaction is something which we are going to discuss next. So firstly, you associate a score to it. What is your learner satisfaction score? The moment you call it a learner satisfaction score, this now becomes a quantifiable metric which you can track. Is it 70% learner satisfaction, 75%, 80%? Is it growing over a period of time? Is it declining over a period of time in an overall fashion? Is something that it is very, very important for an edtech company to track. How do you track it? So learner satisfaction score needs to be the combination of some sub-metrics. What are those sub-metrics which is there? First is DAU by MAU ratio. Now, what is DAU and MAU, right? DAU means daily active users. MAU means monthly active users. Now, your ratio of daily active users and monthly active users is a very interesting ratio. So, what it means is, let's say on a daily basis, if 1,000 people are coming onto your courses, coming onto your platform, versus in a month, there are overall 5,000 unique users who are coming onto your course. So, 5,000 is your monthly active learners, monthly active users, and 1,000 is your daily active users. Now, the ratio between this gives you the stickiness factor of your courses or your edtech platform out there, right? So if your DAU to MAU ratio is higher, it means that the people who are coming your on your platform daily are also keep coming back, right? They keep coming back. It's not like today as a learner I come back and during the entire month I did not return back, right? So if your DAU to MAU ratio is high, and a good ratio over here is upwards of 40%. If your DAU to MAU ratio is upward of 40%, you're doing wonderfully well. You have very, very high sticky rate. Your students want to come back to your system. I'm not saying that this alone is basically telling you that your learners are satisfied, but at least your learners are coming back onto your courses and platform again and again. Next is you consider what is the average time spent by the learners onto the platform. Now, it might be fine, okay, that I'm coming onto your platform on a daily basis, on a monthly basis. Second important thing is how much time I'm spending onto the learners. If as a learner, I'm coming onto your platform on a daily basis and spending 30 minutes, 1 hour, upwards of 1 hour onto your platform, that actually proves that content is maybe helping me as a learner, right? I'm loving your content. I'm spending more and more time onto your platform. So that gives you a second indication. And ultimately, it's all going to lead to learner satisfaction. The next is the feedback, right? So feedback, we consider it as two, right? Qualitative and quantitative feedback. Now, what do I mean by qualitative and quantitative, right? Quantitative is very simple, right? You might release course ratings. You want your learners to be able to rate your courses. Or let's say if you're doing instructor-led classes, you want learners to rate every class or live classes that you're doing. Or you might want to ask learners to rate each and every of your content just to understand which content is working fine. That is all is quantitative feedback. But what is qualitative feedback? Qualitative feedback is around, let's say if I'm giving a review, even if I'm giving 5-star review, but I'm writing some content to give you the feedback. Or let's say if I'm reviewing your live classes across your trainer, across your content, various other categories, I'm typing down something. If you are able to analyze what the student is writing and give a qualitative score around the feedback, combine it with the quantitative score, that ultimately gives you how's the feedback of your learners, which is there. Now, things have started to build, right? Combinations have started to build. The next important rate is participation rate. Now, participation rate is very important. There are various things that you can do into your edtech or training business, which increases participation rate. One thing is people are coming onto your course and they are just watching. It's basic engagement. But what if you are launching a community or a discussion forum onto your content? What is the participation rate of your learners participating in that discussion? Because more and more they participate into your discussions, the better engagement is going to get created. If you're doing live classes, if it's attended by thousands of people, how many people are putting something on chat? What type of questions they're asking? And versus how many people are just on a listen mode. So this helps you create the participation rate. Assessment performance, various assessments that you do is something again which gives you an important idea, because if the assessment performance are good, then there is a high chance that learners are able to understand what you're seeing, and if they're able to understand, the learner satisfaction score would be good. What's the referral rate? So as I mentioned, referrals is one of the fastest and the best way of marketing for an edtech company. So let's say if you're 100 people today, in a month, how many of those 100 people are referring your courses or your institute or your organization to other learners is something which is very important to track. The better the referral rate, the great. I think a good referral rate over here would be at least 20 to 25% of referral rate is a good metric over here. Next is learner behavior. Again, this is a very, very interesting thing. And what you are tracking over here is, let's say if I'm a learner and I'm attending your classes with my video on, or I'm doing certain actions onto the computer, which is psychologically assumed to be a good behavior or a bad behavior or hardworking behavior or just a lazy behavior. Is your platform, is your courses able to track these behavioral patterns of your learners and is able to combine with other things is something which is important. And finally, so learner behavior, referral rate, assessment performance, participation rate, feedback. The most important question over here is how are you able to track all these things, and how are you able to combine all these things into an ultimate learner satisfaction score? If somehow you are able to get this equation correct, we have seen that the learner satisfaction score is something which is true to the this thing, because it combines everything that your learner is doing, their enrollment rates, their participation rates, their performance, their referrals, their behavior, their time spent, their activity on this platform. All these things combines and gives you a learner satisfaction score. And this is a topic of the entire new webinar as well, where I will specifically dive deep into how you specifically track all these metrics. But that is something for some time later in the future webinar that we do. So I think that's it. We are almost towards the end of the webinar. And this is where I wanted to take 5 minutes, to introduce our new thing as a new product as well, in which we are trying to launch. Because ultimately, we know that for an edtech business or a skill development business, it's very difficult to track this learner satisfaction score. A lot of you are using Power BIs, data sources from different things to try to understand this. That is where we are trying to bring in this. We are introducing Edmingle analytics into it. So let me very quickly show you a few things what we are trying to do over here, right? So now the idea is that or a lot of edtech companies actually need this, right? When you are operating on a learning management system like Edmingle or any other learning management system out there, currently we are helping a lot of you to basically streamline your course delivery operations. You're able to manage a lot of operations, right from your student enrollments to live classes to self-paced courses to feedback management to participation in discussions, various community things that is happening onto the platform. So a lot of unstructured data is getting collected. So this analytics dashboards that we are going to launch is going to help you understand, get an insight, which ultimately help you drive your learner satisfaction score. Just to show you very quickly, I'll not go deep into this because we will have another webinar where we'll explain each and every part of it. But what has been your total learners? How many of them are registered, which you can convert as an enrolled student, or how many of them are already enrolled? What at this point of time, how many learners are live? What's their activity heat map looking like? At what day of the time your people are coming onto your site and learning? That might be the time for you to better market your courses or do a push notification to keep the engagement rate high. What's the average time spent for your learners on your courses? Which devices they're using to this? Who are the top learners by usage? Operating system. What's the engagement health? Engagement health. How many of your users are healthily engaging, passively engaging, or completely unengaged? You can actually export this unengaged people and push your notification to make sure this unengaged people can become healthy. So this is around the learner analytics part. We also show you that what are the countries where your learners are coming from. Ultimately, all these KPIs are going to link where we are going to specifically give you a learner satisfaction score, combining all these factors. Next thing is course analytics is also something which we are doing. Let's say as an edtech business, you are having 10, 15, 20 courses or slowly increasing. You might want to see what's the total sales happening. What are your top 10 courses by sales, by engagement rate, by average attendance, by enrollments, where exactly your course sales are coming from. Who are your top purchasers right? So for example, as I mentioned, you need to focus on high ARPU. So you can set yourself a target that you need at least 1 lakh per student over the period of time. You can see which students are actually paying you, which students are paying less. You can select those students and try to promote more of your courses, which you might think might help. And this can be combined with the satisfaction score of that learners, where you can very, very specifically, try to reduce your cost of customer acquisition. You can also see which of your content is most viewed, just to give you an understanding which course is performing really good. And similar analytics will be done around the testing and analytics part of it. So I think that's it. I think around for now for Edmingle Analytics, we have planned a detailed, a webinar around it. So, but I just wanted to show you around, because ultimately all these things that I showed you comes to a common fact that are you able to, make sure that the sustainability equation is coming out, right? You having an expertise and specialization is into your control. Maintaining quality is under your control. If you do this, and if you follow the business strategies which I showed you, there's a very high chance that a demonstrable outcome can come. And ultimately, learner satisfaction is something which comes from all these three of it. So, guys, I think that brings us to the end of this particular webinar. Thanks a lot for staying till the end. I'm just going to, launch the last slide. A big thank you from us, entire team. Lead the EdTech space with Edmingle. We are here to help. If you want to reach out to me to LinkedIn directly, you can scan this QR code, and I would love to have understanding from you. I would love to help you try to take your EdTech company. Maybe if you're starting or if you are at a growing scale, wherever you are, you can reach out on the call. You can also email me directly, and I would love to have interaction with you to understand. Also, after this webinar, please do not forget to give your feedback as well. So with that, let's open up the Q&A. I think you will see a Q&A options over there. I would like to, I would request if you have any questions, you can type into the Q&A part, and I would love to answer any questions that are out there. Right. Thank you, Pubeet, for your kind words. Thank you. Thanks a lot. It's good to understand that you loved our initiative of analytics. Thank you, Dr. Mridula Nayak, for your wonderful words. I'm happy that you found your sessions very insightful. Thank you, Himanshu, for agreeing to all things. Thank you, Mirek. All right, let's go to the questions. Ajay from Sairam have a question. Hi, Ajay. What's your question? Can you type the question, please? Okay. No questions at all. I think you guys agree with me on everything. I hope you are able to get some insights out of this. At least give me a thumbs up, or write something on the chat if you felt that this webinar was something that you liked, and if you would like to see more of such webinar. Okay, Pubeet has a question. Is there any planning of adding CRM with social media integration? So yes, Pubeet, we are planning to have integration with the CRM. Right now, we are working with it. We are working with integration with Zoho CRM, HubSpot CRM, and bunch of other CRM like Lead Squared and Extra Edge specifically for education company. And yes, we do have a plan to have social media integration as well. That is all plan of our product roadmap. But the biggest thing that we are planning right now is to get this analytics to you guys as soon as possible so that you can start making sense of all the learner data that you are collecting on a day-to-day basis. So thank you for asking this. And yes, it is in our roadmap. So. Thank you, Ajay, for your kind words. I'm happy to see that you love the session. Himanshu is asking, any plan to even market the course for your client? So ideally, because Edmingle is mostly focusing on helping you deliver your courses in the perfect way to help you get better learner satisfaction. But we do have certain partners with us right now who specifically work with our customers to help them market the course better. So if you can reach out to me on LinkedIn or email, I would help you connect with those specific partners that we have, who can help you market. But we ourselves, we might not go into the marketing of courses as of now, again, because we also want to focus on our niche where our expertise lies. But thanks a lot for asking this question, Himanshu. Uh, Somebody's asking how to calculate daily active users by monthly active users. Now, again, very interesting question. Thanks a lot for saying. So DAU and MAU are two separate metrics. So firstly, you will have to calculate these two metrics separately. So DAU is, let's say, if you have 1,000 overall learners, right? So out of those thousands, in a particular day, let's say 10 people come to your platform or come to your course. So 10 becomes your daily active users. Tomorrow, those 10 plus a few more unique users can come. So DAU is basically the unique number of students in a particular day who are coming onto your platform. And monthly is again the same, that the unique set of users who are coming onto your platform in a month. The duration here is a month. So it is quite possible that out of 1,000, there are 50 people coming onto your platform daily. But if you calculate over the month, there might be 100 people coming, as an active users unique on a particular this thing. So it gives you a ratio of 50 by 100. That is, you have a 50% DAU by MAU ratio. Again, this is a little bit technical. We would definitely conduct another webinar. Will help you understand with Excel sheets and with Edmingle Analytics on how you will be able to calculate DAU. One good thing is if you use Edmingle Analytics, DAU, MAU, all these ratios will be right away available for you without any need to do any Excel sheet, Power BIs, or anything like that. So I hope that answers your question. Durga Prasad asks that I'm doing B2B with colleges. I am facing one issue with that. More students in college not interested in online. Right. So, Durga, I think very, very interesting value proposition here, right? And I understand this is a challenge because it depends upon what type of courses you're doing, right? Because let's say I have seen multiple other companies, working with us who try to basically push a lot of courses online to a college for their students, right? But the challenge over here is the college tries to push a lot of these courses to the students, right, without understanding whether students need those courses or not. So I'm happy to discuss it offline as well, but I would request you to relook at what type of courses or expertise is that where the students are not interested in online, because today everybody wants to actually I'm talking about the upskilling courses right now, not talking about the B2B or schools part of it. But would love to understand more from you if you can ping me or the email this. Thank you. Right. Any more questions? Yes. Just give me a moment. All right. So, okay, there are a lot of more questions which are coming in. Hmm. Nikhil is asking, will there be any biometric attendance integration for the offline students? So, we have a system to mark attendance, and we are working on a plugin with an external company who is creating a plugin which can be put on top of the Edmingle, wherein the biometric attendance integration will start to work. So you can ping out to our team, and they will provide you more details around this. Thank you. I believe nowadays few edtech companies are moving to offline mode. So how will the LMS help us in offline scenario? Wonderful question. Thanks a lot for asking this. You are absolutely right. Depending upon what category of courses you do, moving to offline also might help. But when you look at the learning management system, right, and in offline setting, it also helps you. So let's say you are creating multiple bunch of centers, right? You need an administration panel where firstly you are able to manage all these centers under a single location. And let's say if you have 10 centers where the offline classes are happening or one session, still the students are going to come to you. But for those students, if you are giving this platform as an add-on where you are uploading all your content and promising your students that you can access it anytime after your physical classroom as well, that creates a huge value proposition. Secondly, let's say a student is coming to your offline center and then going home, but still using your learning management system, you start to get their data around the satisfaction score, the assessments. You can use it for assessments as well. So it ultimately aids you in providing and improving your offline mode in a better way. And you can use learning management system for that. Which one? Great session, very insightful. How can I, as a publisher who has lots of content, being an educational publisher, be a part of this education learning edtech space? Very, very interesting question. Thanks a lot for asking this. I am happy to share that the publishers have started to realize that this is a big space for them. And I'm also happy to share that we work with some of the largest publishing houses in India, like McGraw-Hill, and there are several other publishers that work with us. The idea is content is the king, right? You have been, as a publisher, publishing a lot of content in a niche market. You need a platform to help you deliver and scale that content delivery in a fast way. There are two ways in which you can utilize a system like this. Either you can load up your content, and primarily as a publisher today, you are working directly with businesses. Maybe you're working with colleges or schools or companies directly. But having a platform like this is your opportunity to go directly B2C, take your brand directly to learners. So that is one thing which a publishing company can do. The second thing is, I'm sure that when you go to any of the college or any of the company where you're trying to deliver, the next question they're going to ask is, how are my students going to access your content? That is where what we recommend, and that's how we are working with multiple publishing houses, that their content plus our technology creates a perfect product which a publishing house can take to multiple colleges. We have publishing houses working with hundreds and hundreds of college with this particular specific panel as well. If you'd be interested to understand more, please reach out to me, or the email or the number listed over here. Thank you. In B2B, will college anytime pay, or is it just the B2B2C channel? Interesting question, Imanshu, right? I have rarely seen college pay directly without collecting anything from students. They ultimately try to factor this in with the student fee or something like that. But that ultimately helps you, right? Because, if college doesn't want to pay, if the students, if they can collect it from the students, they will be more than happy to pay you in a better way. So I'm not sure whether it depends, right? But in companies, what I've seen is companies or the corporations that you work with might invest a lot in upskilling their employees, and they will pay you directly. Is there any feature to adapt content for user? Really sorry, I could not understand this question. Is there any feature to adapt content for users? Maybe if you can write down in a little bit detailed way, that would help me answer. How can you help for a startups, right? So this is again very interesting question. See, if you are doing an edtech startup, your primary focus has to be creating good content and making sure that you are able to follow all those strategy and try to build up your community out there, the learners slowly. Technology should be least of your concern. So that is where, a lot of edtech startups are working with Edmingle today, because if you have the content, if you have the concept with Edmingle, you can go live, go to the market within less than a month as well. You don't need to worry about technology, expenditures, because it's very cheap and it scales with you, right? Today you might have 100 students, but even if you have 1,000, 10,000, 5 lakh students, you do not need to invest a lot in technology. The technology that we have scales very rapidly around it. If you want to understand more, feel free to reach out. Be happy to answer. But we work with a lot of edtech startups, and a lot of them are doing good in niche markets. The irony is only the startups which raises a lot of funds are, getting noticed on the internet front. But there are a lot of startups doing profitably what they are doing, and doing it in a perfect way. And all these strategies which I show you are the strategies which these startups follow really, really well. How do you think hospitality professionals like waiters, bartenders who work 12 hours do online courses? Very, very interesting questions, Nikhil. I have seen it work in two ways, because we have several people who are doing hospitality training. They do it in two ways. Uh, Either they target one class a week or two class a week rather than every doing classes every day. This is one thing. Secondly, the concept of bite-sized content is something which is very important, right? It is not important. It is not really required that in your online courses, every content should be like 30 minutes, 45 minutes, 50 minutes, 1 hour. If you're creating content that big, it's very difficult for professionals who are working 12 hours a day to, find out time with it. But you can try to formulate your concept into bite size, like 5 minutes video, 10 minutes video, and less number of classes in a particular week is something what I've seen is working over here. And that is what works with a lot of professionals as well, right? Which is there. Depends upon which industry are you in, but as you mentioned around hospitality, that is what I've seen. On a particular day in a week, or bite-sized content works. Are you aware of the new NEP regulations that edtech companies may have to comply with? Yes, our team has done some really deep research into it. I would be happy to take it up as a different webinar for sure, because it's a very, very huge guidelines which we are trying to formulate and simplify for our customers. We're going to do a separate webinar for it. Thanks a lot for asking, though. Can we have e-proctored exam integrated with your system to conduct assessment remotely for our students? You can absolutely do that. We work with multiple products that integrate with Edmingle, where you can do e-proctored examinations as well. Yes. Thank you for reposting your content. Your question, I meant presenting content as per learner's choice of level of difficulty. Very, very interesting question. What you're asking is the adaptive learning, and that is going to be the next step. As of now, our system does not allow that. But once you build this analysis, is going to become the base for us to start promoting adaptive, presenting adaptive content as well. So as of now, we don't do it, but very interesting question. Thank you. You provide mentoring. So if you're asking, do we provide mentoring? Does our software allow you to do mentoring onto a platform? Then yes, you can create various mentoring courses or mentoring sessions, which your learners or your people can come, pay for it. They can apply for the mentoring sessions using Edmingle. You can do that. You can reach out to us for details around it, and be happy to schedule a demo for you. Just one quick question. So this LMS comes into picture when we have our initiate institute or some sort of business. Very, very interesting question. Thanks a lot for asking. Interestingly, not just the edtech companies are using learning management systems today, right? As if you remember, I was mentioning before a company called Zerodha, right? So Zerodha is having a huge bet into educating their customers, because the more you educate, the more people are going to relate with your brand, and the more better the chances are that they're going to buy your services, right? So even a lot of companies today have started to launch their academy, like HubSpot Academy, Zerodha Academy, XYZ Academy, where they are trying to become the market leader or the thought leader using a learning management systems to reach out to their customer. So educational marketing also is a term where we have very interesting example called Arkan. Arkan is a firm which basically does cybersecurity products and security products. They have launched their own university called Arkan University, where they are training their employees. They are training the new and upcoming people into cybersecurity certifications and a lot more thing apart from their core business of technology. Do we have the right B2B where we can start as a trainer and explore our niche? I think I think you can do it. It's very important to explore your niche. So I think this deck, which we will share you, it will give you insights into which particular segments where there's a maximum skill shift, as you were talking about, right? And you can see if your expertise or if your niche, you can try to figure out, talk to a lot of companies, try to understand if there's any specific thing around which they are looking for upskilling or content. And that should be a good starting point for you. Startups mentoring. Okay, so Dr. Kothara means that do we provide startups mentoring? Sir, directly we do not provide any startup mentoring, but what we are planning to do now is to conduct more and more such webinars, create more and more videos, which is because see, our vision is very clear. We believe that small to medium sized edtech businesses can coexist and they can build profitable business. This is our core. Everything that we're doing, including our product, including whatever new content, videos, webinars that we will be doing, will be around that. So I'm sure that if you stay tuned to all these videos and webinars, you'll really love the content that we're doing. It will give you a lot of insights. But directly, we do not do any startup mentoring. Thank you for the session. Just closing down a lot of questions, which I've already answered. All right. I think, is there any more questions? Do you plan to expand Edmingle similar to Linda, LinkedIn Learning? It can help corporate for their employees can be trained as well. Uh, so we do not want to go to B2C directly because again the thing is very simple. As I was mentioning that if you look at LinkedIn Learning, if you look at Linda, these are some very common uh, courses which they are trying to sell to every corporates out there. And the fundamental point of this webinar is that knowledge is subjective, and that is where the effective upskilling is not happening. Our vision will always be to help these edtech companies who are niche experts try to create better, because they have much better chance to upskill someone rather than someone looking at the courses of some basic courses from Udemy or Linda or probably something like LinkedIn Learning. So we believe in the power of expertise and uniqueness versus this. So we, as of now, we do not plan to expand Edmingle similar to LinkedIn Learning. All right, I think that's all the questions. Really, thank you one and all for joining. If you still want to get in touch with me, understand more, please feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. Here's a scanner in front of you in the screen. You can also give a call to our team. This number that is there will help you reach out to our team directly. And you can also email me directly at gaurav@edmingle.com. It was really, really interesting spending this evening with you. Thank you, one and all. Stay tuned for more webinars to come in, because this is just first part of the series that we're going to do. All these concepts that we discussed today, we are going to go deep into each and every one of them in our future webinars. So stay tuned on our website, our social media channels for new updates around the videos as well as content. And I hope you got something out of this webinar. Thanks a lot for spending your evening with us. Thank you, one and all. Have a great rest of the week or the weekend. Thanks a lot. Thank you.